Good morning. It is chilly. We are 43 degrees. And I thought about doing this on the VMAX, but I figured since I made it back from my trip, let's bust out the KLR this morning. And we're going to try y'all on a different mount and see how I like it. But as you can see, I'm putting on some thicker gloves. I've got my full suit on and a couple of layers, good socks. Yes, once again, I ride basically every day. And I have not done anything to the bike since I made it back from my trip. Oh, I started to sink into the dirt just then. We are full on travel mode still on this bike. Hey, it started up. Had to use the choke, cranked right up. It's a cold. But again, it's really pretty. A lot of times I'd rather it be a little cold than too hot. And we'll see how well the stabilization works on that mount. It's a clamp that clamps to the visor. I'll show you all that in a short here. But things I learned from my trip. Number one, take your time. I know this a lot from doing a lot of other trips. I've got to take my time when I'm doing these. You can't get in a hurry. I don't ever like to be in a hurry on a motorcycle at all. It's a good way to get yourself hurt. I've looked back, and most of my close calls, I was in a hurry to be somewhere. Number two, even on the interstate, a throttle stop can be dangerous. I had a very close call. I did a short about that close call, saying please watch out for us. I was in the passing lane, actively passing, and the person on the car that I was passing decided they needed to be in that lane. For those that don't know, a throttle stop is a little device that you put on your throttle. And mine, they got multiple different ones. Mine's a bar style, is what I call them. I don't know if that's their technical name. But it clamps to the throttle, and you put the throttle in a position you want it. You take your finger, you shove the bar down, and it sits on top of the brake lever. And it holds the throttle in place. It's the throttle stop. Basically, the cruise control. Now, the downside is, on my Harley, or any other bike I've ever had that has legitimate cruise control, if I start to get in a bad situation, I can grab the clutch, I can reach over and tap the brake. Any of those things will deactivate the cruise control. On this, it's a manual thing. You've got to remember to roll the throttle forward to deactivate it. So I'm doing 75, which I found out something on this bike. We'll talk about that later. I'm doing 75, and I'm trying to get this bike stopped, and this car's coming over on top of me. And the bike does not have enough power to accelerate out of the way. I couldn't shoot past the car. I just didn't have the power on the bike. So I'm rolling down this. I'm trying to get the throttle undone. I'm on the brakes. The bike is literally hopping. It's on the front brake so hard, it's causing it to do this wibble wobble and hop. And I finally was able to get the clutch pulled in. And once you pull the clutch in, if you're ever in a situation on a motorcycle where you can't seem to get it to stop, and you know the throttles will run away or something like that, pulling the clutch in is disconnecting the power. Once you rip that clutch in, no more power. No more power to the back wheel. The engine will rev, but there's no more power to the back wheel. So I was finally able to get my hand on the clutch, get it clamped down, and this took less than a minute. This was all happening in less than a minute. But it was a scary less than a minute. For those that do not realize this, I made this trip before on the bike. I used a bunch of back roads because I didn't want to be on the interstate as long as I was this time. And so we added 12 hours, so it added 2 hours to my trip when I did that. And I ended up being on the interstate for a little bit of it because I was like, I can't, it'll be 16 hours before I get there. So I'm on the brakes. You know, it all turned out. It's okay. Now, the car did eventually see me, and I know this because they took off. They did not, anytime I started to get back up close to them, they'd gun it and go. They didn't want to deal with me. They realized they messed up. And I was upset, but I wasn't going to, like, throw something at them or cuss something at them. I'd have probably given them the, what were you thinking, kind of, be like, hey, I'm here. That kind of motion, you know, and left it alone. But if I notice someone's actively scared of me on a motorcycle approaching them, I stay away from them. They are in a 4,000-pound vehicle, and all it takes is and I'm in a crash. You know, and if they don't stop and I don't have recording going, you know, there's no one around. So basically, I treat riding motorcycles a lot like being a boat. The bigger object has right of way. You know, I want to make sure that they're stopped at a stop sign. I want to make sure I got plenty of room before I go through that light, or that they're definitely stopping. I want to make sure of these things because being right doesn't help me if I'm laid up in a hospital bed, you know, not getting paid at work and stressing over the fact that I have bills to pay. And then I can't ride my bikes either because I'm hurt. So, you know, sometimes being right's not that important. I live my life by that. I think the internet taught me that to a degree. I'm to the point now where unless the belief in something is actively hurting somebody or actively hurting somebody else, I don't care. 2 + 2 can be 5. Whatever. More power to you, buddy. Have a nice day. Makes my life a lot easier when I don't have to worry about dumb things like that. And being around the car stuff that I've done and everything else, all the time I'm sitting there going, you don't know what you're talking about. And a lot of that comes from, you know, just experience. People ask me all the time, is my VMAX fast? And my usual response is, to me, it is. And for 90% of people, that VMAX is fast. But if you own a 1,500 horsepower Shelby GT500, a 2,000 horsepower, you know, GTR, 1,000 horsepower Gallardo, you're going to be like, it's quick, it's not that fast. You know, a good example of that is my dad's Tesla. Mom and Dad, that Tesla is the fastest thing they've ever owned, and it is a fast car. 0 to 60 in like 2.8 or 2.9 seconds fast, right? To put it in perspective, the VMAX does 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds if you can find the right patch of road and you don't spin the tire or do a wheelie and get an actual 0 to 60. Now, there's a lot of ifs involved in that. With that Tesla, there's a whole bunch of computers saying, hey, we're doing this. So, the Tesla would be faster if it was always on the right road. Now, granted, you're not going to take that Tesla and do a 2.9 0 to 60 on a dirt road or a gravel road. But a road like what I'm riding on now that's relatively new and relatively clean, it'll do it. It's just nutty how it'll do it. The auto driving took some getting used to. It driving itself. I'm okay with that on like a cruise control going down the road. I did not like it coming to stop signs and going, is that car going to stop? Or at a thing that's like, okay, it's pulling out in front of people. And I'm sure the car's programmed to be safe, even in its more aggressive modes. But, man, was it nerve-wracking with a car, and there's a car coming. I'm like, oh, please don't cut this person off. But overall, a cool car. I'm not one of those people that's going to get into the electrics versus gas and this, that, and the other. I think they're all cool. If it's got wheels and a motor and I can do dumb things on it, I tend to like it. Really, if it has motors and I can do dumb things on it, I tend to like it. You know, I'd love an airplane. I'd love an electric jet boat. I'd love one of those mini electric jet boats to pull behind my mini Jeep. You know, they're $6,000. That's why I don't have one. You know, if someone wants to donate one, I'll do cool videos with it. You know, I'll soup it up. I built RC cars for a long time. I still have a ton of them. I still play with them. You know, look back farther down. My ADHD is strong, guys. I promise. The ADHD is strong with this one. But, you know, they're good cars. You know, a lot of people, you know, what really impressed me with it was how well the throttle worked. Like, it felt linear. It didn't feel jerky or anything like that. And it probably shouldn't have, because I'm used to them on, like, RC cars and the programming and the motors. You know, and that's basically just a much bigger version, more powerful version of an electric RC car. The car was super cool. I've thought about getting an electric motorcycle for going back and forth to work and short trips quite a bit. You know, because it has saved the gas. I haven't done it yet because I got 3 bikes. Why do I need a 4th one? You know, I already have trouble sometimes with my motorcycles. But I made it back. It was a ride. It basically rained, misted on me most of the day, and for the last 3 hours of that trip was raining. In the last hour and a half, 2 hours of it, it was in the dark raining, driving around semis. On this bike, I use my cell phone. Well, really, on all my bikes, I use my cell phone as a GPS. I have the helmet set up, so that's why none of them have speakers. When I did have a bike with speakers, when I had my Road Glide, I did use them quite a bit. I liked them a lot. But yeah, here we go. I think that was a Lowrider ST. But most of my helmets have headsets in them, or I'll put earbuds in for music and turn-by-turn direction. But man, it got dark and the rain was coming over the windshield and hitting the cell phone and making it do things like it was turning the like I was touching the screen. So I finally just turned that off. It's dark. I can't really see the road. There's no windshield wipers on these visors, so it's literally just covered in rain. And the semis are all around me, and the GPS keeps going, object and road up ahead. And I'm sitting here going, well, hopefully it's there. You know, at least if it's I'm on the right bike, hopefully I can just boop over it. Luckily, I didn't hit anything. In that situation, what I did is I picked one side of the lane or the other like I normally do. And, yep, there you go. And, stayed in that lane. The theory behind that is if you end up in a bad enough, the tires in front of you will clean those lines out. Your junk's outside of those, or your oil and stuff's usually in the middle, because that's where the engine sits in a vehicle. Well, that little Jeep Renegade's got some off-roady tires on it. And it's a Latitude. It's not even the trail-rated one. But yeah, guys, when it comes to vehicles, I try to take all the politics out of them. I don't like politics being in my vehicles. That's how you end up with stuff like the Dodge or Stellantis. Their issues they're having there, politics got involved, and, you know, it's really hurting that company. Honestly, without getting too political, the economy is hurting the company, hurting a lot of these car and motorcycle companies. People don't know you know, the stability wise of what's happening next. So they're kind of hanging on to their money. And it's a smart thing to do, you know. I've never bought a new vehicle. I've bought brand new motorcycles, but I've never bought a new car or truck. By the time I got to the point where I was willing to spend what I thought was new vehicle money, the prices had doubled. And I'm not going to go buy something I don't want. If I'm going to have a payment, I want it to be on something I want. I've made that mistake a few times. I've bought new vehicles, you know, go get the new vehicle, go do this, go do that. I've done that. And I've always regretted it. And most of the time, I don't even care for the vehicle I end up with. They're boring. It is what it is. You're going to stop. Sorry guys, the Jeep in front of me is driving 5 and 10 under the speed limit and making my life difficult. Yeah. Thanks, Jeep. I should have went. But that threw my train of thought off. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I try to take all the politics out of these vehicle things. So, like, with an electric vehicle, I just judge it on being a vehicle, you know, and I judge it on what I want to use it for. No, I'm not going to judge an electric vehicle like it's, you know, a supercar or my motorcycle or a pickup truck, unless that vehicle is being sold as a supercar or a motorcycle or a pickup truck. Honestly, I judge Dad's Tesla as a four-door car like I would a Camry or my Infiniti Q50 or like a BMW kind of thing. I would put it on par. It's hard because Florida's a lot of straight stuff. But the car didn't feel bad running through the minor turns that I had, and I'm not beating on the car. I want to make that clear. I drive other people's stuff nicer than I drive my own. I have a firm belief that if I break something, I should pay for it, and if I can't afford to pay for it, I usually won't borrow it, or I usually won't, you know, I'm definitely going to be careful with it, regardless. But I think a lot of people make the mistake, they do it bad in the motorcycle world for sure, where they just judge everything like it's the same. Like, hey, this is a, you know, they'll literally judge, and really the cruiser bikes get it the worst, right? People for some reason want to judge a cruiser bike on the same runs as an adventure bike or as a sport bike. The adventure bikes don't get it as much because they do handle pretty well. They're kind of a in-between. I don't even want to know how to say it. They're an adventure bike. You know, that's kind of my point, though, is if I judge an adventure bike strictly next to a sport bike, just like I would a sport bike, you know, I'm going to say the adventure bike is too tall, the suspension's too soft. As I get leaned over into turns, it feels wallowy. It's not powerful enough to get out of the way, at least not this one. You know, all these things, you know, but if I turn around and I judge the sport bike on an adventure bike, I'm going to complain about the ground clearance. I'm going to complain that the suspension's too stiff. I'm going to complain there's no luggage space, etc., etc. And the same thing with the cruiser bike. You know, I tell people this all the time. When you're looking at cruiser bikes, you're looking at muscle cars. You know, they're old technology. I think I just caught a whiff of that diesel in front of me. I hope that's what I'm smelling. The bike's running cold, so it ain't the bike being hot. Oh, that's not good. The wheel on that little SUV has come off the back of it. Hopefully that is not a picture of my future on my Focus with 430,000 miles now. But, you know, we got to stop judging all the bikes the same. We got to judge them how they are. Like I said, cruiser bikes to me are muscle cars. Sport bikes are your super cars and sport cars, depending on the CC. Oh, my bad. Okay, he's being cool about it. I guess I didn't cut him off. He was waving me around, so I thought I was cutting him off or something. But yeah, those bikes, you know, all bikes have their place. All bikes are fun in certain situations, you know. And see, the last one I didn't say is adventure bikes. To me, adventure bikes are like your SUVs. You know, they're your dailies. They got all the luggage in the world. They're comfortable. You can do anything with them. You know, I've said it before. I started riding cruiser bikes because I loved the way they looked, and I had no interest in any other bikes. And I'm relatively short, so approaching a taller bike as a new rider was scary. It's still intimidating, especially on some of these bigger, expensive ones. You know, I'm not. Hey, I go to the Honda dealership and I'm looking at Africa Twin, and I'm trying to sit on this thing, and I'm scared to death. I'm about to drop a 15,000-pound bike right there in the middle of the showroom floor. You know, and I'm going to be embarrassed because I did it in the floor. I ride every day. But more than that, I've now damaged a $15,000 bike, and that's not something I want to do, you know? So, in that situation, I'll get someone over there to help me. Hey, hold the front end on this. I want to see if I can stand this up and even touch the ground. You know, and most of the time I can figure it out. I really only need to get 1 foot down, somewhat secure, to be okay. On the street, off-road, things get weird regardless. So we've been talking about all that stuff. Now let's talk about what needs to happen now that I've made it back from my trip with the KLR. So the tires are pretty shot now. I use knobby tires. That trip was 600 miles one way, so 1,200 miles, basically doing above 60 the entire time. And for the majority of it, 75, 70. On asphalt, the knobs just got worn down. There's nothing we can do. Oh, hello, officer. Someone has probably called on me more than once when I'm riding the VMAX through here. So, it's going to need new tires. I've already got the tires. I went with Tusk Waypoint 2s, I think, or Tusk Adventure 2. I forget. They're Tusk tires. I have a certain set of Tusk tires on here. I went with a different set of Tusk tires. I don't want to put them on just yet. I'm going to try to let these go a little bit longer. But the new ones will have to go on. If I'm honest, I was hoping for some more roundedness. Because I do daily this, so it does see a lot of street miles. I'm in that weird spot where when I'm off-road and I know that I need my when I'm off-road, I want that traction there. I don't want to lose traction in a worse situation. And I can slow down going around turns. You know, I don't have to drag the bags. But I'm trying to find something I like in between, because most of my off-road is gravel roads at this point. So, you know, we're still filling this out. I'm still getting it figured out. I still have not done a real camping trip on this bike yet. That's something that I want to have happen soon. And I want to get better at doing these videos, so when I do that trip, I can share that with y'all. Hello, Jeep. For the record, I'm doing 70 according to my speedometer, and the speed limit's 65, so he's just in a hurry. And I'm not, if you'll notice, I'm not in the passing lane. Yes, guys, that's a passing lane. That's not a fast lane. It's for passing. You pass and you get over. Stop staying in the lane. We'll leave that alone now. So I'm trying to get better at doing these. I've shot a few things, like the trip. I didn't get a lot of footage. I was very stressed, especially when the bike started acting up. So let's talk about that. In the shorts that I shared, I talked about the bike starting to act up. I was in Birmingham, got hung in traffic, the bike started to act up. That's a little bit past the halfway point, but I still had 3 hours of ride time left, maybe more. It basically, the bike did not overheat. I want to make that very clear. It just sat in traffic, got warm, the fan kicked on, pulled it off, did that a couple of times, and then it started spitting and sputtering. My first thought was, I have vapor lock. So I got up and going, tried to let the bike get warm, tried to let the bike cool down. It cooled down on the gauges, but between like 3.5 to 5,000 RPMs, or a tick under 5, it started spitting and sputtering. That's just what it was doing. I ended up off the side of the road, opened the cap, tried to let it vent and cool down a little bit. Basically, what I had to do was pull the choke and let it sit, or pull the choke, and then that richened the fuel up. It caused, it choked off the air, richened the fuel up, and the bike ran better. So the bike was not getting fuel. It was not a spark issue, it was a fuel issue. Well, a few weeks before that, I had noticed that my, the mic moved up and is touching my nose. That my gas was venting, but it wasn't venting out of the vent tube, it was hissing all around the gas cap just from sitting out. That meant that the tank was building pressure pretty hard. So I pulled the gas cap apart, and in the gas cap, there's a little rubber flapper. That flapper had deteriorated and it was clogged. It was a partial clog. So I cleaned that out. I also pulled the filter off, and I need to buy a new filter for this. That filter is pretty junk. I pulled that filter off, sprayed that thing down real good with a with some carb cleaner while the bike was running. Ran some cleaner through the tank. I have not had a problem the entire trip back. I have not had a problem there or back. I don't 100% know what it was. If I have the problem again, I'll have to pull the carburetor. That's going to involve pulling the tank. You know, it'll be what it will be. I'll make it work. But that's one of the reasons why I like riding these bikes. It's super simple. I could have done this stuff on the side of the road if I needed to. So, yeah, just been a wonderful, it was a good trip, guys, it really was. Again, I'm going to say this, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The bike for the trip, 9 times out of 10, is the bike you have. Whether that be a Honda Grom, or whether that be a KLR, or whether that be a BMW 1290, I think is what they are. Maybe I'm mixing KTM and BMWs, forgive me. Whether that be my Lowrider ST or Road Glide. Are there things I would change? Yes, if I do a longer trip like that, I definitely want more street-oriented tires. I don't want to eat through a set of wheels again. I'm hoping the ones that I got will stand up a little better than street riding. We'll see. I mean, I've got over 5,000 miles out of these, so we're doing okay. A better seat, that is a big one. I have a bad back that's bumps the sciatic nerve. I'm 95% disabled, or 90% disabled through the VA. So I'm, you know, I hurt. That's all there is to it. I hurt whenever I do these trips. But my belief is if I slow down and I stop, it's only going to get worse. So I you know, I'm going to do the things I love as best as I can. Even now, I'm dangling a leg because it's starting to cramp up and I'm starting to lose feeling in my toes. And that's just from, you know, I rode yesterday, I rode today. I did that really long ride. I took one day off when it was raining and drove one of my Rangers. So, you know, a seat would be important and a place to move my feet other than the two options I have. Something to get my feet out in front of me a little bit. Things I liked. The little side bags that I put on the bars. I really like those. They do great. Obviously, I like my Apache hard cases that are mounted to the Tusk stuff. I gave my buddy the soft bags. I don't like soft panniers. I know someone's going to talk to me about, you know, well, off-road, they're safer if you drop the bike and your feet gets underneath them. And yes, you're right. I've judged the risk. The soft panniers look like garbage to me. I hate the way they look on a bike. Again, most of my riding, I'm honest about this, most of my riding is on-road or gravel roads. It's not like I'm doing a bunch of single track, and if I start to do single track, the first thing I'm going to do at the campsite is quick disconnect the bags and then go do the single track. Honestly, if I'm doing single track, I want a smaller bike. So for all those reasons, I got bags, and I have new bags coming. That video will go up when they show up. They should be here this month. But yeah, it's you know, things are happening. So what's next? Now that I've covered kind of everything in the ride. Again, I said it before. I would do that ride again. I would like to take more time next time, which isn't an option. I kind of would like to ride halfway and camp somewhere and then ride the rest of the way and then only do one day of riding. But, you know, it is what it is. I plan on taking my Harley next time for sure. You know, I think the bike will be more comfortable. It has panniers on it or bags, whatever you want to, hard bags. And yeah, guys, I came from the cruiser bike world thing, so I'm just now getting to where I call things certain things, and so deal with it. But I'll take my Harley next time. That 6th gear will be nice to have. Actual cruise control will be nice to have. The Lowrider ST has the fairing. All that stuff will be nice to have. It is what it is. The VMAX, as soon as I get my Harley back from my buddy, the VMAX is going up on the lift and getting pulled apart. We need to refix the shocks on it. Someone finally weighed one, front and rear scales. I now know how to set up the weight distribution. So even though it's lowered, I will get that as close as I can, weight distribution wise. And that should help with any weird handling characteristics. Basically, I think I got the bike a little too far forward, got a little too much weight on the bars. Makes it feel a little heavier than I think it did. And then we're going to paint the VMAX, and I have not revealed the color. It's going to be cool. Tomorrow I work at night, but Saturday, Sunday, and Monday when I'm at the house, I plan on working on my 90 Ranger. For those that don't know, in 2005, I built a drift truck. I suck at drifting because I've never had a good place to go practice, but I love the way it looks. What I was really good at was toge. Mostly because my survival instinct is apparently turned way down. So this truck isn't going to be a drift truck. I'm building a toge truck. I picked a Ford Ranger because I am super familiar with that platform. 90 is an I-beam truck. It needs the valve cover gasket replaced and the exhaust built for it. We're putting a header on it. It is the little 4-cylinder, 2.3 liter, 5-speed manual, short wheelbase, roll-up manual windows. It was exactly what I was looking for when I got it. I got a hydraulic handbrake for it. I got a limited slip differential to go in the rear. But I kind of want that truck going before Thanksgiving, because if I decide to go home during Thanksgiving, I would like to take that truck because it's probably going to be cold. But so we got that going. I got a camp video I need to edit still. So there's stuff coming down the pipe, guys. That should be fun. And I got my area cleaned out enough that I can start doing some more VR stuff. So we're going to have some VR videos coming too. Anyway, guys, I know this was a longer one. We had some things to talk about. I didn't break it up into 2 separate videos. Anyway, guys, I love y'all. I hope y'all have an absolutely wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. And remember, guys, life's an adventure. Get out there and live it.